Emmanuel Macron wasn't there for the French winners when he entered Roland Garros. Instead, he was there for Alex Eala. The French president doesn't go to tennis matches before the finals. Paris had not yet received the Philippine flags. Laban Alex, a 20-year-old Filipina, had already made such an impact on the tennis world that her name was being whispered in the halls of power, even though her chants had not yet reverberated off the red clay. Macron observed Eala practicing on the court from the presidential box Philippe Chatrier, and then he did something that left Alex Eala stunned. The tennis world split, and the WTA in disarray. Roland Garros, Paris, France, May 18, 2026, in an unexpected moment for the tennis world. I'll set the scenario for you. The official start of the French Open was still a few days away. The Roland Garros grounds were already humming with practice sessions, qualifications, and the hushed expectation of the second Grand Slam of the season, even though the main draw would not start until May 24th. The famous red clay on Philippe Chatrier's court was freshly rolled, the nets were taut, the lines were crisped, and a lone individual sat in the front row of the stands, observing carefully. Macron, Emmanuel the French president, had shown up without warning. The media had not been informed, the security detail had been covert, and the tournament organizers had been sworn to silence. However, the murmurs started as soon as the head of state entered the stadium and sat down. Why is he in this place? Not even the tournament has begun. Who is he observing? The solution was Philippe Chatrier standing on the court with her ponytail swinging with each stroke, her racket in hand, and her eyes fixed. Eala Alex, Filipina, 20, had momentum when she landed in Paris. She was now ranked 38th in the world, up from number 42 just weeks earlier thanks to a breakthrough run at the Italian Open where she defeated world number 45 Magdalena Frech and number 31 seed Wang Xinyu before falling to world number 2 Elena Rybacina in a gritty third-round battle. But the numbers only told part of the story. The real story was the Eala effect, the phenomenon that had turned the Foro Italiano into a sea of Philippine flags, that had drawn celebrities and dignitaries to watch her compete, that had made the tennis world take notice of a player who wasn't winning titles but was winning hearts. And now, the president of France had come to see it for himself. Macron watched as Eala moved through her drills. Her footwork was sharp, her ground strokes were precise, her focus was absolute. The Filipina was preparing for the biggest tournament of her career, and she had no idea that the leader of the host nation was sitting just feet away. "She's different, isn't she?" Macron said to the tournament official beside him. The official nodded. "Yes, Mr. President. She's different. I've heard about the crowds, the flags, the chants, the way her people show up for her. I wanted to see it for myself. You're seeing it now, Mr. President. Even without the crowd, you can feel it. She carries something with her, something that transcends tennis." Macron nodded slowly. He leaned forward in his seat. For the next hour, he watched. He didn't check his phone, he didn't consult with his aides. He simply watched the 20-year-old from Manila prepare for the biggest challenge of her young career. And when the practice session ended, he made a decision. "I would like to meet her," he said. The official's eyes widened. "Mr. President, she's just a qualifier. She's not seeded, she's not. I don't care about her ranking. I care about what she represents. The Filipino community in France is one of the largest in Europe. They work, they sacrifice, they contribute. And in Alex Eala, they have found a hero. I want to honor that." The official nodded slowly. "I'll arrange it, Mr. President." The practice session was over. Eala was packing her bag, her mind already drifting toward the next session, the next drill, the next step in her preparation. She had no idea that the President of France was walking toward her. Let me take you inside the meeting that has since become the most talked about moment of the French Open lead-up, because what Emmanuel Macron said to Alex Eala in that private conversation would send shockwaves through the tennis world. The security detail cleared the area, the tournament official stepped back, the few journalists who had been lingering near court Philippe Chatrier were escorted away, the cameras were shut off, but whispers travel fast in the insular world of professional tennis. By the time Eala looked up from her bag, the president was standing in front of her. "Miss Eala," Macron said, extending his hand, "it is an honor to meet you." Eala's eyes widened. She had met celebrities before. Francesco Totti, Andrea Bocelli, Valentino Rossi, Kim Kardashian, Elon Musk, Taylor Swift, Mark Zuckerberg. But a head of state? The leader of the host nation of the tournament she was about to play? Mr. President, she managed, shaking his hand, the honor is mine. Macron smiled. I watched your practice session, your focus, your intensity, your movement. I've seen a lot of athletes prepare, but I've rarely seen anyone so locked in. He paused, his eyes meeting hers. But that's not why I came. Eala tilted her head, curious. I came because of what you represent. The Filipino community in France is one of the largest in Europe. They are nurses, caregivers, engineers, workers who have built lives far from home. They are often invisible, but you have made them visible. He gestured toward the empty stands, where the Philippine flags would soon wave. The flags, the chants, the tears. I've seen the videos from Rome. I've read the articles. I've heard the stories. What you have created is not just a fan base, it is a movement. Eala's eyes glistened. I don't know what to say. The meeting had been private, the conversation had been brief, but when Emmanuel Macron stepped in front of the cameras, the tennis world held its breath. Let me take you inside the moment when the President of France made an announcement that no one expected. Not the WTA, not the tournament officials, not even Alex Eala herself. The press room at Roland Garros was packed. Journalists from around the world had gathered, expecting the usual pre-tournament statements from the French Open organizers. They expected talk of logistics, of security, of the upcoming matches. Instead, Macron walked to the podium and began to speak. I have watched many athletes compete on French soil, he began, his voice steady, his eyes scanning the room. I have seen footballers lift the World Cup. I have watched cyclists conquer the Tour de France. I have witnessed champions in every sport imaginable. He paused, his gaze drifting toward the door where Eala stood, waiting in the wings. But I have rarely seen an athlete connect with people the way Alex Eala has connected with the Filipino community. In Rome, she turned a tennis tournament into a homecoming. The flags, the chants, the tears, they were not just about tennis, they were about belonging, about being seen. The room fell silent. France is a country that has been shaped by immigrants, by workers, by people who left their homes to build better lives. The Filipino community here is part of that story. They are nurses, caregivers, engineers, dreamers, and in Alex Eala they have found a hero. He paused again, his voice softening. Therefore, I am announcing that the French government will establish a special cultural exchange program between France and the Philippines, funded by a grant of 750,000 euros in Alex Eala's name. This program will support young Filipino athletes who dream of training in France, just as she trained in Spain. The room gasped. Alex Eala has not yet played a match at Roland Garros. She may win, she may lose. But she has already won something far more important. She has won the hearts of our people. And for that we are grateful. The announcement echoed through the press room. The journalists scrambled to send the news. The WTA officials sat frozen, their faces masks of disbelief. Let me take you inside the reaction that followed President Macron's stunning declaration, because what the governing body of women's tennis had just witnessed was unprecedented in the history of the sport. The WTA had seen political figures attend tournaments before. They had seen presidents and prime ministers present trophies, pose for photos, offer diplomatic pleasantries, but they had never seen a head of state announce a 750,000 euro grant in the name of a player who had not yet won a match at the tournament. This is unprecedented, one WTA official whispered to another. She hasn't even played her first round yet. It doesn't matter, he's not honoring her results, he's honoring her impact, that's different. The distinction was lost on no one. Macron's announcement was not about tennis, it was about the Eala effect, the phenomenon that had turned stadiums into homecomings, that had made a diaspora feel seen, that had transcended the scoreboard and entered the realm of cultural significance. The WTA had been slow to recognize this phenomenon. They had focused on rantings, on rivalries, on the traditional metrics of success, but President Macron had just demonstrated that they had been measuring the wrong things. We need to rethink everything, another official admitted. The way we market players, the way we engage with fans, the way we measure impact. Eala is not just a player, she's a movement, and movements don't care about rankings. The statement was not made publicly, but it reflected a growing recognition within the WTA that the Eala effect had changed the game in ways they were only beginning to understand. The announcement spread faster than any match result. Within hours, the news had traveled from Paris to Manila, from the Eiffel Tower to the rice terraces of Ifugao. The Filipino community in France, the nurses, caregivers, engineers, and dreamers, wept with joy. Let me take you inside the emotional response to President Macron's unprecedented grant, because what the Filipino diaspora felt in that moment was not pride, it was validation. The Philippine flags had waved in Rome, the chants of Laban Alex had echoed through the Foro Italiano, but the Filipino community in France had been watching from afar, hoping that one day their hero would come to Paris. Now, before she had even played a single point at Roland Garros, the President of France had honored her. "I've been in France for 12 years, said Maria, a caregiver from Quezon City who now lives in Lyon. "I've worked hard, I've sent money home, I've missed birthdays, holidays, funerals. I've never felt seen. Not like this." She paused, wiping tears from her eyes. The President of France gave €750,000 in Alex Eala's name, not because she won a match, because she represents us, because he sees us, because we matter. The hashtag Alex Eala grant trended globally within hours. Filipino news anchors struggled to maintain their composure as they delivered the headline. "This is not just about tennis," said one anchor, her voice breaking. "This is about recognition. This is about a community that has been invisible for too long, finally being seen." In Paris, the small but passionate Filipino community gathered near Roland Garros. They waved flags. They chanted Laban Alex. They celebrated not a victory, but a promise. "We will fill the stands, we will wave our flags, we will chant her name, we will show France what the Eala effect really means." The press conference was over, the cameras had stopped rolling, but Alex Eala was not finished. She had one more thing to say, not to the journalists, not to the officials, but to the people who had carried her to this moment. Let me take you inside the most intimate moment of that unforgettable day, because what Eala did after President Macron's announcement revealed why she is different from any other athlete in the world. The president had left, the WTA officials had retreated to their headquarters, the journalists had filed their stories, but a small group of Filipino fans had gathered outside Roland Garros, their flags still waving, their chants still echoing. Eala walked out of the stadium, past the security guards, past her coaches, past her mother. She walked toward the fans. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady but her eyes wet. "Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for traveling across continents. Thank you for waving your flags when I was winning and when I was losing. You are the reason I keep fighting." The fans wept, the flags waved. "President Macron's grant is not for me," Eala continued. "It's for every Filipino child who dreams of something bigger. It's for every OFW who sacrifices so that their family can have a future. It's for every person who has ever felt invisible, to remind them that they are seen." She paused, her voice catching. "I haven't won a single match at Roland Garros yet. I may lose in the first round. I may lose in the second. I don't know what will happen, but I know this. Whatever happens, I will fight. I will never quit, and I will carry all of you with me." The fans erupted. "Laban Alex! Laban Alex! Laban Alex!" Eala raised her fist. The flags waved. And in that moment, before the first ball of the French Open had been struck, Alex Eala had already won. President Emmanuel Macron's announcement was unprecedented. The WTA was stunned, the Filipino community was in tears, but the story was far from over. The French Open had not yet begun. Alex Eala had not yet played a single point. The draw was still unknown, the opponents were still unnamed. But something had already changed. The €750,000 grant in Eala's name was not a reward for victories. It was an investment in a movement, a recognition that the Eala effect had transcended tennis and entered the realm of cultural significance. "I haven't won anything yet," Eala had said to the fans outside Roland Garros, "but I promise you this, I will fight, I will never quit, and I will carry all of you with me." The question that remains is simpler than it seems. When Alex Eala steps onto the clay of Roland Garros for her first-round match, will she be playing for herself or for the millions who have believed in her since she first picked up a racket? Perhaps both. Perhaps that's the point. Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Court Legacy for more stories that go beyond the scoreline. President Emmanuel Macron of France stunned the tennis world by announcing a €750,000 cultural exchange grant in Eala's name before she had even played a single match at Roland Garros. The grant will support young Filipino athletes who dream of training in France. Macron had watched Eala practice on court Philippe Chatrier and was moved by the Eala effect, the phenomenon that has turned stadiums into homecomings for the Filipino diaspora. Eala, ranked number 38 in the world, is listed in the main draw of the French Open singles and will partner with Victoria Mboko in doubles. She has a 2026 record of 18 wins and 12 losses, including 4-4 on clay. After the announcement, Eala told fans gathered outside Roland Garros, "I haven't won anything yet, but I promise you this, I will fight, I will never quit, and I will carry all of you with me."